Welcome to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, your guide to motorsports sponsorship. Here's your host, Josh Weesey.
Hey there, welcome to episode 65 of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast. I'm here to guide you through the crazy complex world of motorsports sponsorship. My vision is this: regardless of if you are a supercross racer, a desert UTV racer, backcountry snowmobile rider, a drifter, ATV or drag racer, whatever, my vision is that you can learn how to better market yourself and drive more value for your sponsors. That's why I do this podcast. To help me at that, though, I have a guest coming on named Pleasant Cook. She's also known as 4x4 Barbie. She caught my attention on social media because of her absolutely hilarious Instagram stories. They're phenomenal. Plus, she's just all over the place doing tons and tons of great things with great companies. So it's a good episode, trust me. What I will tell you, though, is we did run into some connection issues in this show while we were recording it. It basically led to a little bit of distortion of Pleasant's voice, but otherwise, I think everything turned out good. There just might be a few points in the show where you have a little bit of trouble hearing her. I did everything I could to try to make it better, but I just couldn't quite recover everything. So hopefully that doesn't distract you too much and you can still get a great message from Pleasant. Now, before we get into it, though, I have a few things to cover with you. First, I'd love to get your feedback. If you could head over to iTunes, leave a rating review, that would be absolutely phenomenal. It drives a lot of positive value for this show. Now, I'm going to read one of the recent reviews that came on the show. I'm reading all the reviews live, so if you do leave one, it will show up on a future episode. This one came from, obviously, an amazing person. Their name is Josh. So Josh's account says, "What a valuable tool for athletes, brands, and marketing folks. Josh," in that case it's me, "has really created a fantastic format and a forum for discussing the challenges and benefits of the modern sponsorship relationship between athletes and brands. This is a very professional and well-produced podcast that hosts some major motorsports athletes as well as tastemakers and marketing experts. Well worth the listen and subscription. Great job." I really appreciate that, and definitely I appreciate how cool of a name you have, Josh. So if you're listening again, thumbs up. Wherever podcast player you are on, go ahead and hit subscribe. That way you don't miss upcoming guests. Our next one is Joe Sylvester. He is a dirt track racer. He's also pretty much raced everything else out there. Phenomenal marketing mind. He's coming on next, so stay tuned. If you ever want to get insider access to upcoming guests, go ahead and check out the Sponsored Rider Club on Facebook. And also on our Facebook page, we just released our second live experience, and that was recorded on 3.5 with Thomas Affelt of Sledders R Us, and he was also featured in episode 48, so if you want to get his whole story, go check it out. If you missed the live experience on Facebook, it will actually be released as a podcast episode without all the fancy editing, so that will come in the future regardless. This episode is brought to you by four awesome companies. SolderWeld, they produce game-changing metal bonding technology products. TopThePodium.com, they're experts in motorsports sponsorship. Bold Racing and Suspension, family race team and custom suspension experts. Armor Coat, they have products that make your cleanup easier. And then also, I want to give a quick shout out to some of our other partners, including MBRP, HMK, Stubboy Traction, and One Stop Performance. Now, I also have an opportunity to share our newest sponsorship relationship, and that is with Crash Addict Industries. Amazing race program. Also, really cool metal fab products. So you want to check that stuff out. We're talking about cages that can take some serious crashes, awesome bumpers, tons of cool stuff. You're going to hear more about them when we move into Heat 2. We will begin with the qualifier, which is the basic intro. In Heat 1, we'll dive into Pleasant's background. In Heat 2, we'll discuss sponsorship tactics and strategies. In the main event, we'll discuss mindset, and we'll end at the finish line where we get closing comments and contact information for Pleasant. Without further ado, let's hop in. Pleasant, why don't you go ahead and fill in the gaps for an intro and tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Hey guys, so my name is Pleasant Cook, and like you said, a lot of people know me as the 4x4 Barbie. I kind of got started out in the motorsports world, I guess. I grew up all the time going to track events, different monster truck shows, things like that. Fell in love with monster trucks at a really young age and started becoming obsessed with them. I told my parents at like 12 that I was going to drive one day. Well, I was contacted by a team, a mini monster truck team, and they had said, this is a great way to get into starting into monster trucks and stuff if you came on tour and started driving with the minis. And of course I wanted to do it. So we bought the first one at 15, when I was 15 years old. So I started doing a couple events with them. My first show I did roll a monster truck, a little mini, but anyways, but everything was good. And I just started doing a tour with them, and then I broke off on my own. And that's basically, it went from there. And we started doing a lot of different events with the monster truck, truck events, displays, and gained some sponsors, and have been doing that till I was about 18, and then you kind of get out of the mini monster trucks and try to graduate into a full size.
So, what's your favorite monster truck right now?
Oh no, my favorite monster truck. I don't know. I don't know if I can say that. There's just so many. Probably, I really like Earthshaker. I kind of like the new drivers that are coming up, some of their trucks, some of those drivers. Yeah. And so, like Earthshakers, that's one of my favorite. I like all the Christian Anderson, Gravedigger. I mean, I like all the new drivers. I think they're kind of coming in and taking over. So, yeah.
There's been a lot of Monster Jam drivers in this show too. So we've had Colette Davis is new, right? She's driving.
Oh yes,
Wonder
yes,
Woman.
I'm a big fan.
Yes, she was on episode 25 of this show, and that was a blast having her on. Amy Hood was on here, episode 7.
Yes,
she was driving Zombie.
I love her too.
Cynthia Gauthier was on episode 8. She was driving Monster Mutt at the time, and Blake Granger was on. Now I'm 21. He was driving Max D at the time. He's, I think, in a different Monster Mutt this year.
Yeah.
And then Kayla Blood, so it's Blake's wife, was on as well. She was in El Toro Loco.
Yeah, I love all of them. I'm a big fan of all of them. I mean, I try to keep up with, I do a lot of, if the shows are in our area, I'll even drive to them just to kind of watch everybody and keep up with them, follow them all on social media. I'm a huge fan of all of them.
So the mini monster truck, I didn't even know those existed until I started following you on social media. Like, it's hard to tell. What are they, like 8 foot tall or 10 foot tall or something?
They're a little, they're probably about 8 foot. This was a third. The one I drove was a third size.
Oh,
so you've got a third size, a half size, and then the full size. And mine's a little smaller. It was kind of, it wasn't as big as the half size. I wish I would have been in the half size, but I started out in the third, and mine's run by a little 4-cylinder Honda. But
really?
It got the job done, yeah.
It's so cool. I saw you, there's a video you posted on social media once where you, like, I don't know if it was you and your dad or something, were putting something up really high, and that you were like rolling the monster truck around and climbing on it.
Oh my gosh. Yes, we actually have them in our house. We built our house. We built this separate. Well, we didn't really build this separate room. There was a separate room, and most parents, collect their kids for shoes and their first spoon, things like that. No, my parents have my monster trucks right there in the living room. So, whenever we need a ladder or something, we just kind of push it to where it needs to go and climb up on it, and we're set.
That's pretty cool. There's not many people, I don't think, that can say that they push their monster truck over to reach high things.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome. So, today, I mean, you're killing it on social media. You're always involved in different events. I mean, today you're flying in from somewhere and you've had a crazy day. So, I mean, what are some of the other things that you're kind of doing today?
Actually, I just got back from a truck show. I did build a new Super Duty, and I've been showing that displayed at SEMA. This is my second year displaying the truck at SEMA, and I normally, for my sponsors, I'll just try to hit every event I can that I'm available for, and just go do a display for them and represent them at the different events. But yeah, I just got back from Dallas, took my truck down there and won an award for it. And yeah, pretty
Congrats.
cool. Yeah. Yes, thank you.
It's been a long time since I've won awards for anything, but back in the day, I used to build mini bikes. And
oh, yeah?
My dad and I, we'd bend up the frames, and I could kind of do the bending, and I couldn't really do the welding at the time, but I could grind the heck out of the welds. And either way, I won like 3 awards for little mini bikes back in the day, like under 21 class or something, and that was fun at times.
Yeah. But I normally sometimes I can get like best female owned, but because I normally do like a more Barbie themed. That was my first truck. But this time, since I'm getting a little older, I kind of did like a rose gold and a black, So, but it went over well. So it's not so pinkish, not really Barbie-ish, but kind of graduated from that a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Rose gold is in right now too. That's like the thing.
Yes, and it's hard to get a right color of the right shade of rose gold, but I think we got it.
Very cool. That and that like that lime green color. Polaris is big on this green color too, and Skidoo. I don't even know what it's called, but it's awesome. I love it. Lime green all the way. Well, one thing that I wanted to dig into a little deeper there is, you've got some support with building these trucks, right? And that's
right.
Coming from sponsors, and you're building these things, and you're showing off their products. So, who are some of, what are some of the ways that you do work with sponsors, and like how do they help you out with the vehicles?
This year, I was with Vision Wheel for about 3 years, and that kind of started it all out. I've always wanted to display a truck. I was driving a Mini at the time, and I was just like, I bought this truck to haul the Mini with, and my sponsor came out at that time with Vision Wheel, and they're just like, what we need to build this for SEMA. And I had already been there with my 2 little Minis doing a display for them. And, I just felt like everybody kind of jumped on board. I just started contacting, Vision was the first one. And then we got the tire sponsor, and then it was just emailing and kind of gathering up from different other builders on how they did it and the different ways to present something to a sponsor. And I just kind of got advice from everybody, and that's how I basically started doing it. I started getting, a lot of people started coming on board, especially since I was a female and I was young, and everybody just kind of supported, and we built it. And then this last one was the same thing. We just kind of started contacting a few that we had a truck. We wanted to go to SEMA again, and we had a wheel company here. They stepped up and invited me to be in their booth, and Fusion Bumpers, they stepped in. Kote Tire, they've been my sponsor for a long time. They stepped in and sent out some tires, and we just went from there, did a rendering of the truck, and we did it in 22 days, built the truck out of a 2-car garage, and kind of slid into SEMA at the last minute.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yes,
it was 22 days to do like small projects.
Well, normally people are like, you need to start a little earlier on your SEMA build. People do it like 6 months in advance, but some things fell through, and it didn't really work out the way it was supposed to work out. And so we waited up until the very last minute of not. We were getting another product in, it didn't come in, and we're just like, hey, we need to build this, and it's 22 days exactly.
Right. Wow. That's pretty incredible. That sounds like something that sounds like a TV show. Like
it should have been.
I used to watch American Chopper, a number of years ago, where Paul Tuttle and they try to build a motorcycle really quickly, and they'd always argue, and it was fun to watch. But
I had to go to Ohio for it. I live in Missouri, and it was like 22 days, no sleep. I mean, we were working, 24 hours. I didn't physically get in there and do a lot of the wrenching, but I was picking up parts. I was fully involved in the build, the decisions, and we did it like it was 10 years off of everybody's lives, but we did it.
Well, now that you're done with that, I need to put a snowmobile wrap on my sled. So feel free to head up to Michigan and,
if
you can knock it out in 22 days even, that's great.
I get inspiration by like going to different places, and I'll be like, you know what, that would make a really good wrap. So I think marble and rose gold and little triangles. I think that's really cute pillow, and there it is. So I just made it come to life. So
perfect.
I can handle that.
That's awesome. Yeah, one thing that I'm probably like way off of my normal topic here, but I'm so curious of how you even think to do that stuff. You know, I'll to give you an example of myself. Like 2 years ago, I would have never imagined that how much possibility there is with sponsorship through social media and these shows. Like I would have never even thought about it. If I wanted to buy something for a machine, I just bought it. I never ever thought about like, well, is there a better way that I can drive value for a sponsor and also get a discount? Like, is there some way we can trade work here? I never would have thought about that. So how did you know to think about that?
Basically, when I started with the white truck, I just completely lucked out and had companies. At that time, people were just coming to me about sponsoring. You know, they knew I was building a truck because I was with Vision. They had a lot of other companies. People knew that I was going to build one. I was releasing it on social media. And then the ones that didn't contact me, you know, I think, you know, here's what I'm going to do. These are the amount of shows I'm going to give you exposure at. This is what my social media is bringing in. This is the, you know, I just kind of just marketed, you know, just talk to them about what I'm going to bring to the table. And it was pretty easy. I mean, you really don't think it is, but when you're letting them know what you're going to give them in value, a lot of them work, you know, and a lot of people want their product as seamless. So, it worked out. So yeah, it wasn't, that's what I basically used with my social media leverage to, get companies.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. It's kind of mind blowing. I wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self some of these things, like, especially when I first created a Facebook profile, when Facebook was just starting to become a thing. Like, if I'd have told myself then, look, hey, if you build this thing right now and build up a huge social media following, it's actually it's gonna be able to help you in the future. I would have never thought about that.
And working as a business, that's what I tell a lot of people. A lot of people come to me, hey, you know, how do we do this that? I was like, build your social media app. You know, tag people, you know, make sure that you're giving, you know, if you have one sponsor, make sure you're giving them a lot of love. Make sure that you're giving them exposure. You know, try to, you know, stay relevant in the scene that you're in. And, you know, that's how you're going to build your social media app. And a lot of people come to me like, how do you build it up? You work at it. You treat it like a business. And that's basically what, you know, I have some help from family and things like that, but that's basically what I have always done. You know, I keep it, you know, my social media on some stuff. It's on my vehicle sometimes, you know, and I treat it like a business.
No, that's perfect. And we're going to actually dig a lot deeper into that a little bit later on. But one of the things I want to talk about next is some of the like key experiences and accomplishments that you've had. And there's one in particular that if you don't bring it up on your own, I'm gonna bring it up. But just some of the cool things that maybe you've done in the past.
I've done a lot of cool things. So, well, actually, I have drove a full-size monster truck. They did fly me to Canada and put me in one. I hadn't had any training except for the Mini, which the Mini is going to be different than a full-size. The monster truck throwdown tour, they flew me up there to Canada. They redid a body for me and put it on the truck, and they filmed it, did a whole filming of it, and they were just going to have me kind of drive around, you know, do some donuts, things like that, and I did, like, take it off a school bus, and they got that all on film. That was a pretty cool deal. That was my first time driving a full-size. I've also done, like, the Baja experience in Mexico. That was, I did some with some of the racers. I trained with the Greaves doing UTVs, and I was actually going to do a race for them, but it ended up raining, so we didn't get the race was canceled. That was a cool experience. They were amazing drivers and racers and stuff. So that was a really cool thing to get to do, to train with them. We also just here recently crossed the country in racers, and that was really cool with Nitro Circus Hubert. And I think we were the first to cross the country in a razor. We did the Trans-American Trail and took us 29 days, I think, 29 days to cross it from coast to coast. We started in North Carolina and went all the way up to Oregon. We had to go through wildfires, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that was the one I wanted to bring up for sure.
Yeah.
It's such a cool thing. I mean, that's definitely on my bucket list. I mean, I don't know.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I don't know what else can top that from at least my coolness standpoint, what I value in the world. That's just so cool.
It was.
You and Hubert made a really big deal about it on social media. I know he was on one of my buddies' podcasts as well and talked about the trip. And, Polaris Razor was a big part of that, right? That they gave some machines to do the trip, and
right.
It was such a cool thing. So how in the world did you get involved with that?
I actually met Hubert through some mutual friends, actually Ryan Anderson at one of the Monster Jam shows. He was there. He kind of introduced us. And at first, I'll admit, I didn't know who he was. I kind of knew, and when he told me what his name was, and I was like, yeah, I know who you are. But we started talking, and then we kind of kept in touch through social media, through text messaging. And then he's like telling me that he was planning on a trip to go across the country, and I was just like, I'm volunteering. I want to do it. And he kept saying, well, we're just going to do like special guests come in for like a ride for a day. And you could be one of the special guests. And I was like, oh, I'll take it. I want to do the whole thing, but I'll take the one day because that's going to be the coolest thing ever. And then he ended up saying he wanted another personality with him, like a female personality to do the trip with him. And he chose me, and that was really, really cool. And I was like, yeah, a month being gone, just packing up, leaving, and it was, and, everybody kept worrying. They're like, that's going to be a hard trip. You're probably not going to make it. The racers aren't going to make it. It's going to be hard on you. You're probably going to want to quit. Everybody's on standby waiting for the phone call. We need to come pick you guys up and all that kind of stuff. But no, there was hardly any problems whatsoever. It was a good trip. We had some others. My friend Shayna went with us, and, she was amazing through the whole thing because so kind of two girls against one with Hubert, and we needed it for our sanity. But anyways, but yeah, we all, it was an amazing trip, amazing sights, and yeah, it was definitely a thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's 5,000 miles or something? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was a little less than 5,000, but yeah, 5,000 miles.
Yeah, most razors never see that many miles.
Yeah, I know it. People were odds against us. People were saying it's not going to happen. It's, people were betting, things like that. Social media people were all talking about it. But no, we had hardly no issues. I think we had a tire that maybe I had messed up that we kept having to put air in. But other than that, all of it was really good. So.
Oh, that's good. Was it, now I'm getting selfish just because I'm so, I've been so curious about this trip, but I mean, was it grueling or was it exhausting or was it, did you have enough breaks where it was fun? I don't know.
Yeah, well, we would drive and get up. The only thing is every morning you would, every night when you stop at a hotel, you would have to, tear down the razors, of all the major stuff on it. And, that would take about an hour. We'd have to put all the razors together. Chain them all together and things like that. We'd get back up at 6 in the morning and go again. We were wore out. It was really hot, during the day and stuff, and there was, and especially with the doors on and all that, it just heated the inside majorly. So you were hot and dusty, dirty all day long. Just, it wasn't real grueling. It wasn't, we weren't in pain or anything like that. It was a lot of fun, but you were really dirty and really tired by the end of the day and ready just to, we stayed in the hotel almost every single night. We'd stop somewhere and just kind of rest, get some food, and then go straight to bed and get up and do it the next day. And, but, we did get up into Oregon, and there was wildfires at that time, and we had to kind of reroute and all of that. And a lot of times it was just, that was kind of a scary situation. We were in a town, and we woke up and it was like extremely smoky in the town. And, so that was kind of like trying to figure out what we were going to do in that situation. But other than that, it was just really smooth. I mean, it was a great trip. We met a lot of great people, stopped at some dealerships. It was a lot of fun.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, in a minute here, we're going to dive into a ton of detail around sponsorship tactics and strategies. But right before that, I want to take a quick minute to thank the sponsors for this podcast. Safety is our overriding priority. I hear it all the time, but I have to ask myself, is it though? Is that the first thing we think of? Is that the first thing you think of? Over the past couple of years, we've seen the performance of production UTVs increase, somewhere around 350%. That means these machines give us a lot more opportunity to have fun and win races, but it also, unfortunately, gives us new opportunities to crash. And that's why we have partnered with Crash Addict Industries. The owner, Travis Pointer, became very accustomed to crashing early in his career. He saw it as inevitable, and he set out to make the process safer. With a passion for racing, welding, and engineering, Crash Addict Industries now produces full cage and other protection systems intentionally designed to protect you during an accident on the track. They also offer a line of human protection products through their vendors. Do this for me at this point. If you're racing with a stock cage right now, please go check out crashaddict.com and at least just see what they have to offer. Even if you choose to go with a different company, please make safety your overriding priority. I don't know about you, but I absolutely can't stand cleaning the mud, filth, grime, goo, garbage off my machines after I go for a ride. It's just frustrating. It takes a lot of time. That's why I'm going to talk to you about Armor Kote next. Armor Kote is designed to help prevent mud, clay, ice, and other grime from sticking to your machine. It makes the cleanup quick and easy. It makes the machine actually look fantastic, and beyond that, it smells phenomenal. I don't know how to describe it, like bubble gum or something like that. It smells great. If you want to know more about Armor Kote, visit armorcoatproducts.com, and you will see their entire product line, all the offerings. Armor Kote is also working on some new stuff. They're soon going to release a solution made for coating the helmet and visor, and also one for wheels to help prevent mud buildup for high temp areas. So make your move now. Go to armorcoatproducts.com. Make a decision that's going to allow you to shorten the amount of time that you spend cleaning so that you can increase the amount of time that you spend riding and racing. I am constantly asking the guests of this podcast how they attract and retain sponsors, and on almost every single occasion, somebody gives an example of a resume. A rider or a racer resume is extremely important to your overall sponsorship pitch and proposal. And it's tough to do. I mean, it's not really the easiest thing. Anybody can go through and put together a resume, so don't get me wrong there, but it's really difficult to get something that's like unique and different and stands out, and then also is something that can be put across multiple platforms. Well, that's one of the things that I want to talk to you about next is how topthepodium.com can actually help you build a race or rider resume that can be used on multiple platforms. I'm talking like website, PDF, something you can print off that's interactive, that looks fantastic. It looks absolutely professional. Well, that's because it's made by a professional. This is the type of thing that's going to set you apart from the crowd, and that's going to position you for a strong sponsorship proposal. So what I want you to do next is go to topthepodium.com, and if you have a question, there's a little chat icon that pops up on the side of the screen when you go to topthepodium.com, and you can go ahead and type your question right there. Jeff Vanestal, he is the owner of Top the Podium. He's going to be able to respond to you directly, so check it out. I hear it constantly from racers that a good suspension setup is absolutely critical for performance, and that's why I'm going to talk to you next about Bold Racing and suspension. Now, it's really critical to understand your suspension, and there's so many intricacies with the valving and the shims and all this crazy equipment that you need to actually, rebuild and properly set up your suspension, that it's really important, if you're ready for that next level of performance, to partner with an awesome suspension company. Now, Bold Racing is that company. They're not only specialists with their suspension setups, but they also partner with companies that produce amazing custom components. And on top of that, they're a family race team. They actually race themselves, so they really understand the type of beating that your vehicle and your shocks can take. So what I want you to do is give them a call and just chat with them. Talk to them about suspension. Their number is 702-506-5354. If you're not ready for a phone call, go ahead and shoot them an email, bold.racing@yahoo.com. Have you ever been out on the trail or at the track or in the middle of the desert and something breaks? Well, of course you have. We've all been there. But a lot of people at that point, they reach into their trusty toolbox for the duct tape or the zip ties or wrenches to fix their machine. However, there's a feeling that you get when you realize you need more than just duct tape to fix that rock chip in your radiator. That's a horrible, horrible feeling to have. And that's why I'm going to tell you next about SolderWeld's metal bonding products, specifically alloy sol. So this product gives you a longer-term fix than JB Weld, which is just going to get you back to the trailer or back to the pits. With basically the assistance of MAP gas or propane torch, you can quickly and easily repair an oil cooler, radiator, AC line, or any crack or hole in aluminum. And better yet, alloy sol flux is the only flux in the industry that cleans and decontaminates the dirty and greasy surface for you. So you don't even have to worry about that part. The alloy sol rods are actually capable of a 30,000 psi fix, and they're stronger than even the parent metal, and they're built to last the lifetime of the part. So don't let a simple radiator leak leave you out of the race or broken down in the trail. Bring along some alloy sol aluminum alloy repair rod and flux from SolderWeld. All right, well, welcome back, everybody. We are now in Heat 2. That's where we discuss sponsorship tactics and strategies. So you had already kind of listed off some of your current sponsors, so we won't go back through that again. But I would like to know a little bit more about how you've contacted these folks, because it's just, I mean, we talked earlier, like, I don't even know how people know how to do this stuff half the time, and it just happens. I'm the same way. I don't even know how I get a hold of some of the sponsors for this podcast. Like, I try to look back on it, like, it just kind of happened. So I try to pull those details out in this show and try to dig in and understand that. So is there, like, one or two that you can remember that we can dive into and see how that whole relationship formed?
Okay, yeah. Basically, on me, a lot of times I have just been so much in the scene of, like, the truck world, monster trucks and things. I've just kind of built relationships from, I don't know, like 12 years old on. Just, my parents would go to booth talking to people. They knew my parents, things like that. And then when I started to build, when I built my first truck, and then even like the sponsorships for the Mini, I was at a truck event, and my very first sponsor was Vision Wheel. And I was there with my Mini and my truck, and they came to me and they're like watching the way I was. I kind of drew a crowd because with the Mini monster truck, a lot of people hadn't seen it before. And people were just like surrounding me, and I was just talking to everybody about the truck, talking about the different events and the shows I had been to, and just taking pictures with people and things like that. And the owner had happened to be there for that event and was watching, and then approached us about doing a sponsorship. And it kind of went from there. I started, talking to other people that had built trucks. I started to build my own truck. Started talking to them about how they went about contacting people and things like that. And just building relationships is how I've always done it. I have always just went and talked to them either face to face at an event about my plans or what I was doing, or just trying to find an email of whoever handles the sponsorships and just sending a letter over of what I could offer them for the sponsorship. So that's basically how I have always done it, and I just try to keep working my social media so that's one of my selling points, how I get a lot of my sponsorships is just because I can promote it, on all of it. Like I use Instagram the most and, Facebook and Snapchat. I use it all. I utilize every social media that I can get. So.
I'm trying to think back to, I'm trying to put myself in the position of the Vision Wheel sponsor at that time. Like if they saw you there, they saw a crowd, they probably were listening to some of what you're saying. At that time, do you know if you had a big social media following?
At that time, I wasn't. Instagram was fairly new. I was thinking, I'm thinking like 50, 60,000 I had in followers. It, like I said, it was kind of new, and at that time, that was a lot of followers. And I don't think they really even kept up with that. They didn't really talk to me about it until I went into my first meeting with them, and they had already started researching me and finding out what I had and what I could help them out with. And they, they really liked, what I could do outside of social media with crowds and things like that, and how I could draw a crowd. They liked how my parents were there. It was like a big family event. We went to all the events together. I mean, it was just, kind of like I completely lucked out getting them, and, they stuck with us, and even now they're like family. They stuck with us for 3 years, and they're more into some, different kind of racing and things like that. So, it was just kind of fell in my lap.
I wish I had a reaction camera on everybody that's listening right now, that when they heard you say, it's like just this kind of getting started at 50,000 followers, and probably like 3 people at least dropped their jaws. But what I will say is I'm curious, like at that time, when they were seeing you draw a crowd, like I wonder if did they pull up Instagram and they say, oh wow, not only does she seem to be popular here, but she has a social media following as well. Or do you think it was just what you were saying at the time? Because I find that from the show and talking to a lot of different people, there's like this, I don't know, this X factor that sponsors see in different riders and racers, and they can't always describe what that is, but they just see it and they're like, all right, I need to somehow be involved with this. And I wish I could write this down in a recipe for people to follow, but I don't know how to describe exactly what that X factor is. So in this case, I mean, do you know how that happened? Was it just something they saw that they liked what you were doing?
The owner, that was the first time he had even been in an event that somebody couldn't make it or whatever, so he went. And I just think that he's seen something in me. I think he believed in me and just watching me. So we were there for 3 days, and my truck and my mini truck was parked right in front of his booth. I did have my social media, I believe, on my window, how you could look me up on Instagram and stuff like that. And I just would work the crowd. I would talk. I didn't know he was watching me the whole time.
Right.
At that time, I wasn't thinking about getting sponsors. I was already, on tour with another monster truck team, and I didn't really even think about that. I was being paid by them. So thinking about getting a sponsor on board wasn't really something I was looking for. And, I just feel like I played my cards right. I did, my part on getting my name out there and things like that. I think that really helped. So.
Yeah, I think that's an important note as well, in saying you didn't know that he was watching. Right. Because you never know when someone's paying attention to what you're doing. I mean, as you were talking too, I was thinking back on a couple of other experiences. Like when episode 2 of this show. So at that time, I was like, I didn't even know how to make a podcast. I was barely got the first episode out. And the second episode, I had Jeff Vanestal come on. He's the social media manager at Can-Am, and he also has he's the owner of TopThePodium.com. I was like, sweet, I'm going to get somebody on here that has business experience, that actually makes decisions on sponsorship and good with social media, all this stuff. And I had no idea that during our interview and afterwards, he was watching the show as well.
Right.
So he called me one day like, hey, I want to sponsor the show. I was like, sponsor the show? What do you mean sponsor the show? Like, what? I'm teaching sponsorship, but I guess I didn't even think that was an option. But he's been sponsoring me. We're on mid 60s episodes right now. So it's been over 60 episodes that he's been a sponsor. And that's just like, I wasn't even trying for that to happen, but he saw something he was watching and whatever I was doing, he liked. And
and I think that's extremely important, because I was just thinking about, even today, I got an email from a guy and he's just like, hey, he wanted to offer me a sponsorship or something for my truck. And he's like, I've been watching you on social media. I've been watching what you're doing. And definitely, I think people are watching, and, you need to always remember that.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point too. Even just with this show, I mean, you and I spent some time in a pre-interview talking, and I was telling you the reasons why I wanted you in this show, and I'd been watching you do things. Like, I'd been watching your social media engagement is very strong. I didn't tell you this in the pre-interview, but you're very witty on there. Like, you have some of the funniest little blurbs. What are they called? The Insta stories around.
Oh, with my DMs. I get some really nice DMs. I thought I would just start playing with them from now on, just because, you get, a lot of girls get a lot of weird requests. So I thought, what, let's just play with this. I have actually had a radio station in California, and they are wanting me to send them everything. So
nice.
I say something or do something, they'd like to have a copy of that, because they're going to do some kind of little radio show about it. So anyway, it's kind of like a Tinder thing.
Yeah. It's just, I've seen some of those things, and I see how much interaction you have with sponsors and stuff. And I was like, I don't know, shoot, it's probably been like 3 or 4 months. I was like, I got to get her on the podcast. So I just started randomly like reaching out, and it just happened to work. But it's a similar kind of thing, and how that stuff all shakes out.
Right.
So if you had to recommend to somebody, though, let's say, there's a ATV racer out there, and he needs some new tires or whatever, she needs some new tires, what would be something you'd recommend they do?
I get a lot of times I get asked that about, how do we go about, just reaching out to companies and things like that. I've just always had a plan. Like I said, I've written down what I'm going to offer to them in social media exposure and exposure in different events, and what I have going on. And, I just try to give them some basic, this is what you're going to get in return for your investment. And it's, I've had a lot of people say no. I've been rejected on different sponsorships and things like that, but I don't give up. I just go, I got to go to the next, and, just contact another company, because surely somebody's going to want me.
Yeah, that's a good point. So we don't have to get into the numbers or whatever, but I mean, how did you know what to even put in a proposal like that? I mean, how do you know what to say that your engagement and exposure is worth?
For numbers on social media, like with my engagements and things like that.
Yeah.
There's a way to tell nowadays. Even if you're not getting the likes and things are not, showing as much interaction, there's a way to, like, some little button on there and stuff that you do. You can do a Facebook Live page, and then it can show you on your Instagram how many people are coming to your page, how many people click on your link.
The business profile and insights.
Right.
Yep.
Yes, and then it, you may be, bringing in, people coming to your page 2-3 million views, in 7 days, and your likes aren't up that much. But you can show that to your company. That's how much exposure I'm getting. I may not be getting, 40,000 likes, but here's 3 million people in 7 days are coming to look, and I'm putting your product out there for them to see. So just building your social media so important, I feel like, because, they need to see value, and what you can offer them. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And, I promise that we talk about this further too. And this is that point, from a social media standpoint. I mean, you're at, I can't remember on Instagram, 200,000 followers or something. And that's huge. Most of the people that listen to this podcast might not ever see that many followers, and which is okay. But the best thing about having you on here is, we can kind of talk a little bit about some of the strategies of, and how do you engage people, and how do you schedule your content? How do you know what content to share? So that's kind of what I want to talk about next to help people level up their sponsorship game on social media.
Okay. Yeah, I was just thinking about this. I try to get my hands in a lot of stuff. I don't limit myself to one, like just the whole Mancha chart scene. I don't just, stay just following that and stay, just relevant in that. I try to, fitness. I do, I work out, so I kind of, follow the whole fitness scene. I follow a lot of people like that. And I try to relate to different people other than just maybe Mancha truck, other than just show trucks, things like that. And I try to relate to a lot of people that come in and follow me for those reasons. I mean, I don't keep it simply just one thing. I try to, be different in what, they get to see on my page. I try to just keep things different. And, I do a lot of that. You can actually, there is a way to tell on your Instagram when your best days are, like, Tuesday you get more exposures and things like that. This is your peak time to post your pictures and things like that. It'll just kind of show you, give you the little graphics and things like that of when is the best time to do all of that.
Definitely. Yeah. Do you know off the top of your head which day or days are stronger for you, or times of the day that's stronger for you?
All of mine, every single day, after 5 o'clock, I would feel like evening times are better. A lot of people are doing theirs. I've had some friends that have large social media followings, and theirs are more morning. I've always feel like mine are more evening time. I feel like that's when people are off work. They're kind of like relaxing. Normally, it's funny because it shows on mine like Wednesday. Wednesday after 5 is my peak time to post any kind of pictures. So.
Yep.
But I kind of believe, like, and people might think it's too much, but I've always tried to do at least, if I'm out doing something, at least 2 postings a day. Just because it keeps it going on my page. There's always something going on, makes people, and especially your stories now, that's a huge thing too, of just, people are watching your stories, and that gets a lot of views, and now you can tell how many views you're getting on that, and how, what you're bringing, to the table on that. So I try to utilize all of it. I'm sharing on my Instagram, and it automatically goes to my web page, and I throw it over to my personal page, and I mean, you feel like it's a lot to keep up with, but it really isn't. Not an Instagram gives you that option of, posting Facebook, posting Twitter. You just press the button and it goes to all those pages for you.
Right.
Just people want to see what you're doing, and that follow you, and that's how you bring in your followers. So, yeah.
It is crazy too how there's just some people that you connect with or that you wanna know more about. And I really don't know how to describe exactly what those things are. But like for example, on your stories, I tend to watch your stories. I think they're hilarious. You know what I mean? People make stupid comments to you on Instagram, and like you said, you call them out, and it's witty and it's fun, and I enjoy that. And I'm thinking of, there was a person on here, he's a snowmobiler, he was on episode 51, Jeremy Mercier, and he, like, his Instagram, I don't know why, his content is so good. I just like, I don't know, I'm drawn to it, so I want to follow it. Jim Beaver is another one. Jim Beaver is one of the top people that's on all my feeds. He's if you don't know him off the top of your head, but he's he has his own podcast. He's a UTV racer, and trophy truck driver, but he's met
him at a terracross thing. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
I'm always following his stuff. Like, oh, and he's actually with Vision Wheels this year too, I think.
Yes, yes.
But I don't know. Sierra Romo is another one. She's a UTV racer, and she was on episode 18 here, and I'm like, her whole family's into racing. I'm just like, I can't get enough of the Romo family. I don't know.
Right. And that's like me. My mom plays a lot into it. My family, I do a lot of family things that I add them in it. You know, a lot of people will come up to me at events and they're just like, oh my God, you follow your mom's Snapchat or follow your mom's Instagram, because she's always like giving a funny, like she calls it, she's trying to show everybody the other side of me. That's not like cute, or it's not, it's just the clumsy side of me, me falling off of something, or if I wreck something, she's over filming, stuff like that. It's just, a lot of people, they love it. They eat it up watching that kind of stuff, because like they said, it's another side of me they don't get to see, because I'm only putting up what I look good in, and she's trying to put up what I look the worst in, so.
Yeah, well, that's interesting.
It does work, yeah.
And I know with like Facebook Live and Instagram Live and I mean YouTube, you can stream live as well. With all these different platforms, I feel like that more raw, uncut self is being more and more accepted. Maybe not even just accepted. Maybe it's like promoted. Like that's more what people want to see.
Right. I agree.
And that's strange. I mean, I know I'm very new to the live world, so for people listening, it's February 27th of 2018 when we're recording. I did my first live podcast. I think it was February 19th. So it hasn't been that long. The next one's March 5th, and that was like a big deal for me. But I don't know why.
Yeah, lives make me nervous. Like if I asked in the beginning, I was like, "Is this live?" Because that kind of like makes everything.
Right.
I just start going, "Oh, I'm live," because I can't stop and delete it if I say something wrong. You've already set it out there to the world if it's live. So yeah, a lot of people don't like to. Doing another type of business right now in drug sales and stuff, and we do a lot of live stuff, and it can make you nervous. I mean, but you have to know how to do it. If you want to be successful in the business, a lot of companies are telling you go live, and it helps. So yeah, that's a new big thing.
On Facebook, when I went live, my social media is not quite at the same level of yours, but I got more engagement and more views than I've had for anything else that I've done. Facebook puts a priority now on live videos, and people were like super excited. I mean, I messed up a bunch of stuff, and I bumbled around a ton, and it was cool. And I ended up actually downloading that. Didn't edit any of it, which stressed me out. I didn't edit any of it, and I uploaded it right to my normal podcast as like a live episode, and it's a little bit different, a little bit outside the comfort zone, but it's so far it seems like that's it's becoming more and more acceptable. Right.
People eat it up. They love that whole raw thing, image of you, and you're not able to delete anything. It's just all you. So yeah. Yeah, that's becoming, we talk about a lot in just the different other kind of sales I'm in. It's just everything needs to be live, go live about this, go live about that. And, it does make me pretty nervous. I'm not real good at those yet, but I'm good. I like to practice first before I go live, so.
Yeah. It takes some time to even want to do it. I mean, there's some people I think they're very natural at it, but it took me a long time, way longer than I feel like I missed the window on going live originally, but after I did it once, I was like, okay, I can do this again, and I think I'll get more and more comfortable with it. But yeah, for people listening, if you want to give it a shot, just do it. And I actually created, I don't know if people would want to do this or not, but I felt like I needed to practice some more just from a technical standpoint to make sure I could navigate within the screens and do whatever. So I created a test Facebook group, and I had my wife in there and one other person that was going to go live with me at the time, and I just created a small group so I could test going live, just turning on, turning off, seeing what things look like. And that helped ease my nerves a ton, where when you go live in a private, you can actually make a secret group. When you go live in a secret group, only the people in that group can see it. So you can mess up all you want, delete it. It was really helpful for me. So
yeah, I'm trying to we go to a lot of events and stuff, and people just kind of want to see exactly what they're doing at those events. They want to see you know, what hotels and things like that. I've been trying to keep up with it more. A lot of people want me to start doing blogging, and which I feel like is just so much more work to do when you're already working an event and things like that. But I have a lot of help. I really do. My mom normally travels a lot with me to try to help with pictures and things like that. But social media is so important because, people are like, oh, you're at that event. They want to see pictures. They want to see what you're doing there. They want to see what it's all about. They're not there. So, it's just so much engagement there. So, yeah, really, really important.
And I want to actually dig in a little bit to the help piece, because that's come up a couple times in the show where people are like, yeah, my family helps me, whether it's with the social media or with, I don't know, just general keeping track of things. So you've already said you've got some help there. What does that look like, though? I mean, what do they kind of help you with, and how do they support you?
I call my mom the momager. She does a lot of traveling with me. And she just, I'll be talking to people, about my truck, or see her in the distance, and she'll be videoing it, on my phone, and we just Snapchat pictures of it. She's always posting and trying to, keep things going, and she's standing behind the scenes doing it all. A lot of people don't even see her doing it, but just trying to catch different moments of things going on. People coming out and talking about the truck, and talking to them about, what all it is. If I start an interview, outside of at an event, she's got pictures of it. When I go to photo shoots, she's behind the cameraman, taking a picture of the guy taking a picture of me, just always trying to get content for me, and I'll have, 50 gazillion pictures on my phone that I have to delete, but she's always right there, helping. I get very, very overwhelmed with the amount of DMs I get. I do run sales and stuff like that on my social media as well, and she kind of helps me skim through everything, what's, I need to answer, what I don't need to answer, and, we'll sit down for hours and just kind of go through everything and what sponsors we need to be posting about that day, and getting ideas of what kind of pictures we need to take for them, and, just kind of, she helps out a lot, and, because like I said, it can be very overwhelming, when you start getting a whole lot on your plate, so, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so the help from family and friends or whatever, or, if people have interns, or if they get to the opportunity where they can start hiring and bring on a team, that's huge. But there's a lot of people out there that will help, and sometimes you just need to ask.
Right. Yes, especially those things that come up that you need to be getting. You need to get content for your social media. If you had a friend that went with you, or like I said, my mom goes a lot with me. I've even asked somebody in the crowd, hey, can you take this picture real quick? Because I've met somebody that I really want to throw up on my page, and, let people know that, hey, I met so-and-so today, and they're, big inspiration in my life. You really need to keep content going. And, even if it's, got a friend coming with you, we do a lot of videoing, we do a lot of, just trying to catch all those moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's pretty critical, and it's good to have those people around. I know we talk in the snowmobile world a lot about photographers that just happen to love riding. On the Sponsored Rider Club Facebook page the other day, there's a photographer. His name's Matt Erie, and he's a loves snowmobiling. He's basically I don't want to charge money. I just want to go on cool adventures, and he takes amazing pictures. Yeah. And everybody needs a Matt Erie in their life.
Right. Well, I see lots of truck shows and truck events that I go to, there's photographers all over, and they'll DM you, hey, is there any way to consider a photo shoot with you? Maybe not even be for a magazine. They're just saying, you know, a small-time photographer that just kind of wants to get their name out there, get, you know, post it on your page, you know, take some really cool shots. And, you know, they're out there, they're willing to take pictures of your vehicle for you, you know, just for some exposure. You know, there's a lot of, you know, stuff out there. You just got to use it. Find it and use it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, next thing I want to do is go into the main event and maybe cover a couple questions, but there's one that I definitely want to talk about, and we talked a little bit about it in the pre-interview, and that's around like what's next for you. So from a motorsport standpoint, I think you've got a few ideas of things that you might want to try in the future, but I mean, what's next? How do you know that's the right next thing?
Right now, I've got a few things that I'm kind of looking into. I do have a full-size monster truck right now. It's not ready to drive. It needs some shocks and things like that. I definitely want to transition into the full-size and start driving, whether that's in Monster Jam or doing it on my own as an independent. But I really love UTV racing. I used to spend a lot of time out at sport and watching those races. I've been to a few Lucas Oil races. That interests me. I really want to get into UTV racing. I'm looking at Terracross right now, getting into that, you know, just kind of starting. I want to start kind of, you know, at the bottom and work myself up, you know, to some more. Because I don't have experience in racing. I've done some, like I said, some training and things like that. But I just want to get the chance to kind of prove that I can do it. And, you know, I don't know that it's something I'm going to love doing or I'm not. I've done some training and so far loved it. So, and I for sure definitely what I want to end up in is monster trucks or even doing that all at the same time.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, there's definitely plenty of people on the Sponsored Rider Club Facebook page that do Terracross and UTV and even some Monster Jam folks. So there's tons of people out there that can help. That's for sure.
Yeah, I definitely want to get in there.
Nobody's reached out to me yet about this, and maybe I'll never reach the right person. But one of the things I've been considering, it's another bucket list item, is doing a endurance snowmobile race.
Yeah.
I have no training or anything like that, but I would love to do that. It's so
Yeah.
If people, I'm going to put this out there again. If you're listening and you have, you know, I don't know, advice or tips or things that, or like if you tell me, hey, that's stupid, why would you do that? I'll take that feedback as well. But reach out to me. I'd like to talk about an endurance snowmobile race in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's like Terracross, you know, that whole endurance. And I'm like, you know, I watched the videos. I'm like, I can do this. And then I went to one of the races. And I was like, ooh, this is kind of tough. You know, we got some really good racers out there. And, you know, but I thought, you know, I don't want to try it. You know, I want to be out there. I want to give it a shot and see what I can do. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited to try to get into that.
Definitely. Well, one of the other things that I want to talk about, I'm going to kind of mix normally a Heat 2 question. I'm going to mix it with a main event question here.
Okay.
And that's around like a challenge that maybe you ran into with a sponsor. I feel like people, they have problems with sponsors sometimes, and it can slow them down, or, you know, they feel like maybe they're the only ones that have those problems. But I mean, do you have can you think of a time when you had an issue with a sponsor, just didn't go that great, and, you know, what did you learn from that?
You know, here recently, since my sponsorship with my main Vision Wheel had ended, I had just been promised over, and even while I was with them, you know, companies were coming to me, you know, and saying, hey, the sponsorship's over, we'd like to try to work with you and work something out, the same thing you've got going on, maybe better, you know, and I was given promise after promise of this is what we're going to do for you, and then when it came down to it, things completely changed. I always think, man, I keep getting my hopes up for different things, and these sponsors are getting my hopes up, and then things fall through. But I really, yes, I'd get down about it, but I really never let it stop me. I just kind of like watch a lot of whatever I'm getting into. I kind of, and even other different kind of racing things, I kind of just see who's sponsoring who, what, you know, who I can, and I have a list. I have a list of people that I'm going to contact, and, you know, like even for Terracross, I have a list, and I'm going to, you know, send my proposal to every single one of them. And I probably, you know, I may have, you know, 100 people I send it to, and 75 of them tell me no, so hopefully 25 say yes. You know, I'm just, you know, I've been disappointed lots of times. I mean, I was smooth sailing for 3 years, and, you know, had everything, and then now it's kind of like, I'm on my own thinking about what I want to do next and who I want to go with next. And, I've been disappointed by some companies, and, you know, I just keep, you know, I'll go to the next and then go to the next until I can, you know, find a company that wants to support me.
Yeah, perfect. That's good stuff. And I think the key takeaway there is, you know, don't stop. So that's one of the reasons why I asked that question, as I know it happens. It's happened to me, right? You know, I mean, the sponsors that I have now have been fantastic and no issues there, but there's been times where I reach out and I'm like, I get so excited, like, yeah, something's going to happen. I'm like, oh, no, it didn't.
Exactly. That's exactly how I went through. And my parents always just like, oh, I'm so sorry for you because you were counting on that. And it didn't happen. And, you know, and I'm just like, okay, you know, I'm going to the next, you know, and I'm going to the next so I can, you know, find somebody. And, you know, like I said, it was so easy the first time around. And then now, you know, especially getting into money sponsorship. Product sponsorship, I feel like it's just simple. You know, people always want to just get product. And then when you go into money sponsorship, that gets so deep. And, you know, a lot of people are just, you know, a lot of companies, unless you're really huge or already been in the sport, you really don't have a lot that want to support you in, especially with TM new. So, you know, it's difficult, and I haven't really let it, you know, deter me from what I want to do. You know, I'm going to do it regardless. So.
Yeah, we actually did the live podcast was focused on that transition from, you know, product sponsorship to, you know, paid cash sponsorship. So for people listening, if they want to check that out, that was it's released as Live One with Travis Pointer on this podcast. So if you want to go back and listen to about a 30-minute rant on that topic, definitely do that, because it is challenging for sure to make that transition. So.
Right.
Perfect. Well, hey, we are now at the finish line. It's time to wrap things up. So what would be one thing that you would like people to take away from this show?
I just haven't given up on what I want to do. I mean, I have a goal. I have a goal of what I want to do in my life and what I want to achieve. And sometimes I'm getting things kind of given to me and like opportunities, and I'm taking them. I'm taking every opportunity I can to build my social media, my name up, and just, but I do have a goal, you know, and I'm not deterring from that. I want, to race in this or that. And, you know, like I said, I'm not going to let no's, you know, from sponsorships and things like that stop me. I just keep working at it. And, you know, that's really, I know it's so cliche, but that's really just don't give up on it. You know, if it's your dream, if it's your goal, you know, don't give up on it.
You know, you said it's cliche, and we do hear that a lot in the show, because I asked that same question to everybody.
Yeah.
But that means it's a theme. So if people are listening right now, that should be something that does stick with you, especially if you've listened to more than one episode. You know, that should be something that sticks with you. It's very common. So people who have figured some of this stuff out, they say that.
Yeah, and it's so easy, like if you're getting things and, you know, all these yeses, and then all of a sudden everything becomes no. It's so easy to get, you know, like, give up. I just want to give up on this, you know, because I'm not getting anywhere with it. You know, it's always, you know, I've always had yeses and I'm having no's, you know, and you do want to give up. I mean, that's just, anybody's like that, but, you know, I mean, just don't, because you'll get through it, you know, and just work hard at it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, what is the best way for people listening to connect with you?
You can go through my social media, Instagram. It is 4x4_Barbie. I do have a like page, 4x4Barbie, or Facebook on Pleasant Cook, and Twitter 4x4Barbie. That's the thing, 4x4Barbie.
Perfect. Well, hey, I really appreciate you taking the time, especially after a lot of travel, and you're probably exhausted today. So I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us and sharing some of your insights on the industry. So at this point, I'm going to leave you with this. Have fun and ride safe. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast. I really enjoy doing these shows, and I hope that you are getting some value from them as well. Make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss any of our upcoming guests. Also, head over to iTunes, leave a rating review. That is phenomenal. It drives a ton more exposure for the show, so keep them coming. If you have questions or guest recommendations, go ahead and shoot me an email, podcast@impactfuel.org. A special thanks goes out to our sponsors, Armor Kote, SolderWeld, Bold Racing, TopThePodium.com, and our newest addition, Crash Addict Industries. I also want to give a quick shout out to some of our other product sponsors. That's MBRP, HMK USA, Studboy Traction, and One Stop Performance. Make sure that you're following us on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Facebook right now, we're just getting rolling on a live series. So we've produced 2 episodes so far, and they're just going to keep on coming. So make sure you go over there, give us a follow. I look forward to serving you again next week. Until then, have fun and ride safe.